Hello there you guys, welcome to another of my live videos. So just going to give you some additional information about Romelu Lukaku, as I have been updating you in the last couple of days at least, of course. So let's jump straight into the stories now of what's going on with Romelu Lukaku. So now, according to the media, we do basically know that Lukaku is being subjected to a lot of transfer speculation, of course, because obviously Manchester United are expected to orchestrate a big summer clear out, and obviously Lukaku is one of the favourable players that is expected to depart Manchester United this summer after blatantly Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has told him that he's surplus to requirements. So we do know that Inter Milan have been heavily linked to him. We do know in the past that Juventus have also expressed their interest in Romelu Lukaku. And now, according to the reports, Inter Milan have reportedly agreed terms with Romelu Lukaku. I think Inter Milan are also willing to match his £175,000 a week wage demand, so they're willing to pay that off. Are Inter Milan. I don't think an initial fee has yet come to an agreement, because I think Inter Milan are hopeful that they can get Lukaku for around £50 million, but reportedly the quoted fee that Manchester United are demanding is around £70 million for Romelu Lukaku. Obviously, Conte is going to be Inter Milan's next manager, of course, to replace Lucius Bella at Inter Milan. He's identified Lukaku as his number one target, but potentially, Lukaku has enjoyed a very difficult time at Manchester United, this season. Obviously, we do know that Rashford has been first choice ahead of him, but I do believe this will be beneficial, for Manchester United if we can get rid of Romelu Lukaku, because it will help us with our rebuilding process, and of course it will help us with our transition. So basically, we're looking to recoup the initial £70 million. We did pay for him a couple of years ago from Everton. I think we paid around £75 million for him from Everton a couple of years ago. I think there was add-ons included in the deal. The add-ons were around £15 million, so it risen it to around £90 million. He has got 3 years left on his contract as Romelu Lukaku, but I just think he's been so inconsistent, this season for Manchester United. He has sustained quite a few injuries, but his ratio is still very, very good in the Premier League. Overall, he's got a great pedigree in the Premier League as Lukaku. He has scored loads and loads of goals, but as you all do know, I've got strong reservations about Romelu Lukaku. When it comes to him playing the big games, he never rises up to the occasion. His link-up play, I've got reservations about. His first touch, I've got reservations about, and his footballing ability, I've got reservations about. And he's too slow. His finish, he hasn't got that finishing assets. He hasn't got that endless potential. Lukaku, Lukaku can perform a bit better, and he can look a bit more effective, when he's getting that support up front, Romelu Lukaku. So I think it will be beneficial, if we can currently get rid of him. So looking likely now he will be making the move to Inter Milan. But I think Inter Milan, I don't know if Inter Milan are willing to pay the £70 million Man United are demanding, but reportedly Inter Milan want to get him for around £50 million. And as stories broke out about this Lukaku situation yesterday, it did say as well that Inter Milan were willing to offer. Well, Inter Milan had allegedly offered around £30 million for Lukaku, plus they were willing to offer Ivan Perisic as part of the deal, but of course Manchester United were not willing to currently go along with this, so they were willing to offer 30 million plus Perisic, so Inter Milan could currently land Lukaku. And talking about Ivan Perisic, Manchester United were heavily linked to him under the Jose Mourinho era. Obviously we couldn't come to an agreement to get currently Ivan Perisic when we had Jose Mourinho, of course, because obviously at the time Inter Milan were demanding that they wanted around £48 million for Perisic. Manchester United were reluctant to pay up to £48 million for him, but he was on Manchester United's agenda for a very, very long time. Obviously I think we had a couple of bids turned down by Inter Milan, but as I said, he's a good player, Perisic. As I said, he's not world class, he's not a Galactico player, and I still think he's a good player, but he's aging up now. He's Ivan Perisic. How old is he now? Is he 30 years of age or something like that? Obviously he did well in the final with Croatia last summer, did Ivan Perisic, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer I don't think he's intending on bringing in short-term players in. He's obviously worked out his transfer strategy. He wants to bring a number of young players to come in that can grow, develop and emulate into superstars, so he wants to recommend a number of young players in that have got a great potential. But yeah, it's looking likely Lukaku is going to be leaving Manchester United, and I think Solskjaer's spoken to Lukaku. Obviously I think his agent had come out a while back and said Lukaku's future is very, very open, so it will be beneficial if we can get rid of him. But I think Lukaku from his own perspective admitted a while back about his dream of playing in the Serie A, but obviously he can't stay at Manchester United, of course, because obviously next season he's not going to get that game time he would currently like Lukaku, but I just don't think he's got the capabilities to succeed with Manchester United Lukaku. But he may, and I do believe he'll be playing his trade in Italy next season, of course. But yeah, reportedly personal terms have been agreed, and Inter Milan are willing to meet his wage demands, but initial fee has obviously not yet come to an agreement. Man U wants £70 million reportedly. Inter Milan value him at around £50 million. So that's the big breaking news to update you on that. But we are expected to orchestrate a big summer clear out this summer, as I said. Obviously, another problem with Manchester United, we've let far too many players' contracts run down. As you all know, we're getting a spending spree this summer of £250 million. But I said we're cashing for Lukaku, we're cashing for Pogba, we're cashing for De Gea. That's going to be around £500 million to currently spend this summer. But Solskjaer wants to bring at least 5 players to the club. I think maybe we even need more than 5 players, but I say we need at least currently 5 players. But we have got to be ruthless in this summer transfer window. We've got to currently rebuild, of course, because looking at it, Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding. I do know it's going to be difficult for us, to attract players to the highest level, because obviously, we're not in a Champions League football for next season, so it's going to be hard for us to currently get our number 1 targets. But I think we've got to get the players, that have got the ability to elevate Manchester United at least in the next 2 to 3 years. Of course, obviously, we want to get a director of footballing before the start of next season, to change the structure of the club. Obviously, as we all know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to need backing this summer. But as I did currently say, at least in the next couple of seasons, our aspirations is going to be, fighting for that top 4, because we are at least 3 or 4 years off, for mounting any kind of title challenge up. Obviously, at the moment, City strides ahead of us, Liverpool strides ahead of us, and we do know a lot of money has been spent at Manchester United over the years, since Alex Ferguson retired. About £700 million has been currently invested, so a hell of a lot of money has been spent. But obviously, on this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so he's still in the process of rebuilding. You can see the deficiencies in the squad. You can identify a number of areas where Manchester United are lacking, and we've got to resolve these problems this summer. We've got to resolve these problems this summer, of course, but yeah, he's still in the process of currently rebuilding. But like I said to you guys, it's not always about, getting the Galactico players. It's not always about, spending big on players, because Manchester United have got a history of spending big on players, especially in recent seasons. Obviously we paid Lukaku 75 million, Pogba 89 million pounds, and of course it was our most expensive signing. And it doesn't always, get you in that commanding position and, guarantee you success, when you do spend big on players or get them Galactico players. And it hasn't proven that with Manchester United, because obviously we've got Pogba 89 million, Lukaku 75 million. I have heard some people saying, we should be sensible with our recruitment this summer, because we are aware that there's quite a few players out there for a reasonable figure. That's on Manchester United's agenda, of course. So yeah, so I think we may be £250 million, and whatever we get for for Pogba, De Gea and Lukaku, I think that should be enough, to get us at least around 5 players, of course. But as I did currently say, talking to about Juan Mata, of course, he's another likely player that's also going to leave Manchester United. Juan Mata, I think Manchester United have agreed, have failed to agree a contract extension for Juan Mata. Obviously, Juan Mata has been subjected to a lot of transfer speculation. Obviously, I think obviously Newcastle are the recent team to be linked to him. I think Rafael Benitez is keen on signing Juan Mata. Obviously, Juan Mata has played under Rafael Benitez, of course. When Juan Mata was younger, Juan Mata, when Juan Mata was at Chelsea, should I say, he played under Rafael Benitez, so maybe Rafael Benitez may be keen on reuniting with Juan Mata. But obviously, as well do currently know, Barcelona have been in talks of getting Juan Mata on a free transfer, and I think maybe from Juan Mata's perspective, maybe he would make the return back to Spain, because obviously he's Spanish himself. He had a lot of experience playing in Spain when he was younger, the likes of Real Madrid and Valencia, and obviously, if Barcelona do get him, they're not going to see him as like any kind of replacement for Messi. They're just going to use him there as a squad player, because obviously now at Manchester United, he's a squad player, because he doesn't even get in the team, even though Juan Mata did play a couple of games towards the back end of the season. But as I did say, I do really like him. I'd love him to stay at least for another season, Juan Mata, but I don't think it will currently happen. But I think Man United are willing to offer him a 1 year or 2 year extension. Of course, obviously the club are not obviously going to be willing to offer him a long-term contract, because obviously he's age 31. He's age 31 now. He's Juan Mata. But yeah, he's been a great, fantastic servant in the Premier League. I think he's made over 200 appearances for Manchester United in all competitions. Been here 5 seasons. All in total, I think he's been in the Premier League about 8 years now. Obviously, this was including his 2.5, 3 years he had with Chelsea when he was younger. So yeah, it's looking likely, he's going to be leaving the club. But Newcastle now have expressed their interest. I mean, who's to say what go to Newcastle? So maybe he could, continue, applying his trade in the Premier League, Juan Mata. But there has been quite a few teams in for him. Give you the news about David De Gea. Of course, David De Gea is definitely not expected to leave Manchester United. After reports came out a couple of days ago saying that David De Gea had turned down a final contract offer from Manchester United. We do know for at least a year and a half now, Manchester United have been in negotiations of trying to get David De Gea a new contract at the club. Obviously, it did unless you say De Gea wants around £350,000 a week if he is to sign a new contract with Manchester United, if he's to commit his long-term future with the club. But reportedly Manchester United are not willing to meet his £350,000 a week wage demands. We do know David De Gea has attracted interest from PSG. We do also know that Real Madrid have been long admirers of him. But obviously the current wage demands De Gea is demanding from Manchester United, reportedly PSG are willing to currently meet this figure. So recent reports say PSG are preparing to put a bid in for him of around £60 million. And obviously, it is essential that we do cash in for De Gea this summer rather than letting go on a free transfer next year, because that would be a calamity. If we let David De Gea go on a free transfer next year, that would be a calamity indeed. And I think he's worth more than 60 or 70 million pounds. As I said, at full value, De Gea is probably worth around 100 million pounds for the goalkeeper, because potentially he is the best goalkeeper in the world. But obviously we're not going to get 100 million pounds from him, because obviously he's in the final year of his deal. Is David De Gea. It did initially say that PSG were intending on getting him on a free transfer, so maybe that could tempt PSG to offer him a bigger salary. But I do believe if he leaves Manchester United, which is looking very, very realistic, I think he'll go to PSG. But he's been a fantastic servant to the club. He has been here 8 years as David De Gea. He has made over 300 odd appearances for the club in all competitions. I think he's made about 100. I think he's got about 100 Premier League clean sheets. Obviously, he's won everything here domestically as David De Gea. But I do believe he will be currently leaving the club. So yeah, I think he will be making the move to PSG. So it's very, very essential we're cashing for him this summer. But now I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now is, he's not intending on, buying a goalkeeper, to currently replace David De Gea. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has worked it out. I think he's willing to promote Sergio Romero as our number one goalkeeper, when currently David De Gea leaves the club. As I said, from my own perspective, I don't know if Sergio Romero, is reliable enough, as yet, to become our number one goalkeeper, even though he did well in the FA Cup games this season for Manchester United, Sergio Romero. But I don't know if he's reliable enough to become our number one goalkeeper. I know we've got the likes of Dean Henderson, but Dean Henderson, hasn't really got the experience yet. Obviously, he's been on loan with Sheffield United. But there's been quite a few names mentioned, who could, replace De Gea. And, Donnarumma, as he updated you early on, had been mentioned in the media yesterday. And it did say Man United have identified him as a potential replacement for David De Gea. Now, Donnarumma is a good shot stopper, very, very good goalkeeper, only very, very young, 20 years of age. Is Donnarumma. He's only 20 years of age, Donnarumma. Obviously, he began his career with AC Milan, of course. There has been reports saying if AC Milan, do fail to get Champions League secured for next season, then there has been, speculation saying that Donnarumma, could leave AC Milan. So reportedly Manchester United have identified him as a potential replacement for David De Gea. Donnarumma, as I said, I think he's made 160 odd appearances in all competitions for AC Milan. I think he's made about 50 odd clean sheets, so he's pretty decent goalkeeper, Donnarumma. I think Donnarumma became the youngest goalkeeper, to make his debut in the Serie A at just the age of 16. I think Donnarumma had currently made his debut, but he's 20 years of age. I think he's got a contract with AC Milan until 2024. So he's been reportedly mentioned. Obviously, we do know that other goalkeepers have been mentioned. We do know the likes of Jordan Pickford got mentioned has been mentioned before. We do know obviously Jan Blanc got mentioned about a month or so ago. We do know that Andrea Onana, the Ajax goalkeeper, has been mentioned. So who would you get to replace De Gea? Because I do believe if De Gea leaves, we're going to need a replacement for them. Because I don't think Romero's reliable enough yet to become our number one goalkeeper. But as I said, this has been a problem with Manchester United. We've let far too many players' contracts run down. Ander Herrera, we've let him go on a free transfer, of course, and obviously we wanted him to stay. But obviously, the wages Ander Herrera was demanding, the club were not willing to meet that. As I said, Rashford as well, he's in the final year of his deal, and the club have been in talks of trying to get him a new contract. But I think it was a bad mistake for Manchester United, giving Chris Smalling a new long-term contract, giving Jones a new long-term contract, and giving Ash Young a new one-year extension. So that is a bad judgment for Manchester United. And big news I want to update you on is in regards to Everton's Idrissa Gueye, as I think I've updated you on before, because he's a potential Manchester United target as Idrissa Gueye. Now, Idrissa Gueye, I think, has completed the most tackles across Europe, Idrissa Gueye. Reportedly now, Everton want around £35 million for Idrissa Gueye. I think that's the quoted fee that Everton, would want for Idrissa Gueye. I think initially Everton, don't currently want to lose him. I think maybe from Idrissa Gueye's perspective, he currently wants to leave Everton. But Idrissa Gueye, I think he's primarily a defensive midfielder. Obviously, he's 29 years of age. Obviously, he's actually the same age as Ander Herrera. Comparing, and you can say Ander Herrera, of course, has had a better of the career than Idrissa Gueye. But obviously, PSG, were heavily linked to him, back in the January transfer window. I think PSG had like 2 bids turned down. But Everton, did everything, to keep Idrissa Gueye out of Paris Saint-Germain's clutches. But now Manchester United have been linked to him, for quite a while now. As I said, he's 29 years of age. He's got quite a few years of experience under his belt in the Premier League, and he has done really, really well for Everton. I think he's made 134 appearances in the Premier League. I think 99 of these have come at Everton, of course, because obviously he's a former Aston Villa player. I think he made about 30 odd appearances. He only spent 1 season with Aston Villa, the Idrissa Gueye. I think before that he was currently at Lille, when he was a lot younger. But now obviously, Idrissa Gueye actually extended his contract with Everton in February of last year, so he's under contract with them now until 2022 as Idrissa Gueye. So do you think he'd blend in very, very well in our midfield, if he was to come in? £35 million is a reasonable figure, but Idrissa Gueye is currently aging up, as you all currently know. So he's currently also on Manchester United's agenda, so there has been talks about him. And obviously there's a lot of midfielders on Manchester United's agenda, as you all know. Obviously, West Ham's Declan Rice is a potential Manchester United target. Well Premier League proven. Initially learned his trade in the Premier League. Could be available for around £50 million. Only very, very young, only 20 years of age. Has still got a lot of years ahead of him as Declan Rice, and I do really, really like him. And I do really, really like Declan Rice a lot. I think he has got a contract with West Ham until 2024, if I'm right. But yeah, Manchester, he's been one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's prime targets. Again, primarily defensive midfielder. Can play as a centre-back, but primarily a defensive midfielder, of course. And I think that's one of the areas where that's one of the priority areas where Manchester United are lacking. Because obviously, Fellaini left back in January. Obviously, we need Matic is not reliable enough. He's not good enough. Okay, in some of Matic's games, he has demonstrated that he can play well, but aging up, too slow, too ineffective in that midfield. And obviously we do know that he's got quite a lot of years of experience under his belt in the Premier League as Matic. And I know we paid £40 million for him, but for me he needs to go. But obviously he's not going to go in the summer. He's still going to be at Manchester United next season. So I do believe that we do need CDM. And obviously Thomas Partey as well, there has been talks about him going, and I think he's been an Arsenal's agenda. Also Manchester United have showed an interest in Partey, from Atletico Madrid. Don't really know much about this player, to be quite honest. I know he's 25 years of age, so he has still got a lot of development in him. I think he has spent the majority of his career with Atletico Madrid. I think he's got an initial lease clause of around £43 million in his contract with Atletico Madrid. So he's obviously also being mentioned, and he's a central defensive midfielder, I think. So yeah, there's a lot of midfielders on Manchester United's agenda. Tanguy Ndombele, I think that's still a possibility, but I don't see us getting a deal over the line of Tanguy Ndombele. I think the likes of Tottenham, PSG and Juventus have expressed their interest in Tanguy Ndombele. Reports I was reading the other week, it was saying that Tottenham were the leading contenders for Tanguy Ndombele, but obviously Juventus and PSG have inquired also about his services. I think he's supposed to be initially rated at around 87 or 88 million pounds. I think Tanguy Ndombele is very, very young, got a lot of development in him, only 22 years of age, very good compassive midfielder. I think he's primarily a central midfielder, so we would actually see him as a replacement for Ander Herrera. But it did initially say we want to clarify the situation with Paul Pogba, before we make any kind of approach or offer, for Tanguy Ndombele. So the situation with Pogba is reportedly delaying our move, for Tanguy Ndombele. That's what reports I think suggested out the other week. But yeah, Tanguy Ndombele, I think he's got a contract with Lyon until 2023. But I think the deal is still, the move is still possibly on, but I don't see him, coming to Manchester United. He's not one of the favourite candidates, to currently come in. But yeah. And talking about Paul Pogba, I think it would be beneficial, if we do currently also, sell Paul Pogba, of course. Obviously, as you all do know, reports came out quite a few days ago saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was willing to offer Paul Pogba the captain's armband, in a bid, to convince him to stay at Manchester United. But I do believe this isn't going to be enough, to convince Paul Pogba to stay. But as you all know, there had been a change of scenery. Now, obviously, the captaincy at Manchester United next season will be given to Ash Young, as reports do suggest. as to be quite honest, what leadership has Ashley Young shown, what leadership has Paul Pogba shown, and they are two favourite candidates, to become captain. But I think Paul Pogba is going to be leaving the club anywhere. So I think, Man United are willing now to offer him, the vice captaincy role. But again, this is not going to be enough, to convince him to stay at the club. Paul Pogba, he hasn't exceeded expectation levels. He hasn't been the fundamental player as we all thought he would have been, when we signed him back in 2016. Because obviously, he did have 4 great years there with Juventus, did Paul Pogba. But we mainly saw the best of Paul Pogba, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager, in his first 3 months, that's when we saw the best of Paul Pogba. And we mainly saw the best of Paul Pogba, when Ander Herrera was in that midfield. So it just emphasises how much of an impact, Ander Herrera, of course, made in that midfield, because he freed up Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba was expressing himself. He was scoring goals, he was providing, and he was in absolutely scintillating form. Was Paul Pogba in that 3-month period. But at least his last 7 or 8 games, his performance has been way below par. He's been very, very inconsistent, and I don't think Man United initially want to sell him. But obviously, if we come to a decision where we've no choice, if we come to a certain point where we've got currently no choice, to currently sell Paul Pogba, then I think we'd probably demand that one around £140 million for him. Initially, Man United wanted around £150 million for him, but reportedly Real Madrid are not willing to pay this £150 million figure that Manchester United were demanding. Initially, I think Paul Pogba just got to put a transfer request in, to make his move to Madrid. Obviously, Zinedine Zidane's a big admirer of the players. Zinedine Zidane's got a lot of players on his agenda for this summer. He's got a lot of players on his agenda for this summer, Zinedine Zidane, but obviously his 2 main priority targets are obviously Paul Pogba and Chelsea's Eden Hazard. So I think it did come out the other week saying that allegedly talks between Paul Pogba and Real Madrid had currently stalled, based on Paul Pogba's 13 million a year wage demands, and obviously these wage demands did not fit the wage structure at Real Madrid, and Real Madrid of course were not willing to meet these wage demands. So I think Paul Pogba is willing to take a pay cut, to make his move to Real Madrid. Paul Pogba's still got 3 years left on his contract with Manchester United, as you all know. I think we have been in the process, of trying to get him a new one. So he's on the contract until 2022, if he has currently got 3 years on his contract, Paul Pogba. But potentially, at least in the last 3 or 4 weeks, Paul Pogba's agent, Raiola, has been in the process of trying to secure him, his move to Real Madrid. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's built a great relationship with Paul Pogba, but, recent reports have just out saying that their relationship is slowly fading. So I do believe that Pogba's going, but I do believe it would be beneficial for us, because we could get around maybe 120, maybe 130 million pounds for him. And with that, with that money we raised from the departure of Paul Pogba, we could get, potentially, 2 players with that money. So, as I did say, I'd love Joe Felix at Manchester United. I think he'd be the right candidate for Manchester United. Joe Felix, I think he can emulate him into one of the best players in the world, can Joe Felix. I don't think he can emulate into like a Ronaldo, Messi or Neymar, but I still really, really highly rate him. Only 19 years of age, got a hell of a lot of development in him. We do know he's going to cost us around 100 million odd pounds, but we've got the financial power, to meet that valuation, because that's his current buyout clause. It did say Manchester United have stepped our interest up in Joe Felix, and it did say we're in talks and we are prepared to meet his buyout clause, which is around 100 million pounds. But I do really, really like him. He's attracted interest, from a number of clubs, based on his fantastic performances. Man United have been scouting him for a very, very long time now, based on his fantastic performances. This has only been his first season in the senior squad with Benfica. Obviously, he's yet to make his senior debut for Portugal, but he is primarily an attacking midfielder. He is also can play as a winner, can play as a striker, can also play as a secondary striker, so very, very versatile is Joe Felix. I think Liverpool had a bid turned down for him in January. I think Man City have been also interested in him. I think Real Madrid have also, been interested in him. So yeah, that Joe Felix has been on Manchester United's agenda, for a very, very long time now. I think the rumours have been going on, since like January, and the rumours have continued to persist since then. So I'd love Joe Felix at Manchester United. I think he'd be the right solution. He's got goals in him, he's got assists in him, he's got immense talent. So I'd love him at Manchester United. I'd also love Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. I'd love Bruno Fernandes. I think it did say the quoted fee is around £60 million. That's one that Sporting Lisbon currently want for him. It's obviously, the being likes of Michael, Man United have attracted our interest in him. Obviously, City have attracted their interest in Bruno Fernandes. And again, he's primarily an attacking midfielder. He's 24 years of age, and I think he's got all the capabilities and he's got all the attributes to succeed in the Premier League, and he would exceed expectation levels in the Premier League. And he has flourished fantastically well at Sporting Lisbon. He's been there a couple of seasons. His initial release clause is around around what, 85 or 86 million pounds. Is Bruno Fernandes, but yeah, still got a lot of development in him. But he can score goals, he can provide, and I think we need creativeness in our midfield, and we need depth in that midfield, and we need someone that can score goals from that midfield. And I do believe Bruno Fernandes, would be the right solution. I don't see us getting a deal over the line, for Bruno Fernandes and Joe Felix. We may get one of them, but I don't see us getting both of them. But I think it did allegedly say that they'd cost them around 150 million pounds, with Bruno Fernandes and Joe Felix. So yeah, I think there'd be good players there for Manchester United, if they were to currently come in. Obviously as well, Manchester United need a right back, and we need a replacement for Antonio Valencia. We need an upgrade to Ash Young, and we need a cover up for Diego Dalot. So talking with you about Wan-Bissaka, he's been one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's prime targets. Now reportedly, Manchester United, was it a day or two ago, had reportedly submitted a bid for Wan-Bissaka for around £25 million. Obviously this figure is not going to be enough, to persuade Crystal Palace to do any business over Wan-Bissaka. I think Crystal Palace are demanding that they want around 50 or is it 60 million pounds for Wan-Bissaka. He has been subjected to a lot of transfer speculation as the young English fullback. Obviously, Tottenham have been interested. Also, Manchester City have also, been interested in Wan-Bissaka. He's only 21 years of age, Wan-Bissaka, and he is regarded as one of the best right backs in the Premier League, of course, because he's done fantastically well with Palace. He's only been their senior squad about 15 months now. He's only been their senior squad about 15 months now as Wan-Bissaka. Something like that. I think he's gone to make like nearly 40 senior appearances. But yeah, he's got 3 years left on his contract with Crystal Palace. But I do believe he's got the ability to elevate Manchester United at least in the next 2 to 3 years. So there has been a lot of talks about him, currently going on. But yeah, I do really like Wan-Bissaka. Of course, he's one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's prime targets. Well, initially when he was a lot younger, he was a winner, and then obviously got rotated as a right back. And then initially got rotated as a right back, did currently Wan-Bissaka. So yeah, I'd love him at Manchester United, of course. And we need central defender. We need 2 central defenders, I should believe. And there's a lot of central defenders on Manchester United's agenda. As you all know, a lot of central defenders on our agenda. So the news about De Ligt, as you all know, has been updating you on an actual regular basis. So it did come out saying that Manchester United, we've reportedly improved our offer, for De Ligt, to try and convince him to make a move to Old Trafford. Now, reportedly Manchester United have offered him around over £12 million per year. This equates to around £240,000 a week, is it? Well, it's something like that. And this is obviously a figure that Barcelona are not prepared to currently meet, because as we all do know, De Ligt's obviously asking for more money. His agent Riley Oliver is asking her for more money, and it's been looking likely, for a while that he is going to be going to Barcelona, because obviously Barcelona have been emerged as the front runners, in the race to currently sign De Ligt. But now reportedly negotiations between De Ligt and Barcelona have currently hit a stumbling block. But we do know Manchester United, Liverpool, obviously City as well included, have obviously inquired about De Ligt's services. But it's obviously more than likely that De Ligt is going to be departing Ajax this summer. De Ligt's obviously spent the entirety of his career so far with Ajax, being an Ajax player since the age of 8-9 years old, and he's flourished fantastically well with Ajax. He's had 3 years worth of experience in their senior squad as De Ligt, and he has become an integral part of their team. So as you all currently know, Liverpool inquired about getting him. He did say Liverpool had been in talks with De Ligt over the summer transfer from Ajax. I think Liverpool now have opted out of the race, of course, so Liverpool had inquired about getting De Ligt. But I still think from De Ligt's perspective, because he did make an admission, I still think he's intending on making the move to Barcelona. And I think the main factor reason why is because obviously his initial teammate Frankie de Jong is making the move to Barcelona. So this is maybe one of the main factor reasons why he does want to make the move to Barcelona. De Ligt. Manchester City obviously are in search for a replacement for Vincent Kompany, so they've identified De Ligt as a possible replacement. Obviously Harry Maguire now is on Manchester City's agenda. So De Ligt is initially valued at around £65 million, is it, or something like that. But I'd love him to come to Manchester United. But wherever he goes, it's going to take his career to the next level. Edwin van der Sar came out quite a few weeks back and he did say he thinks he'll move to England or Spain, De Ligt. But I do really like De Ligt. And this season Ajax won the domestic double for the first time in 17 years. Got to the Champions League semi-final, of course, won the Eredivisie title for the first time in 5 years. So yeah, Ajax have had a really good season. They've got a great young squad of Ajax, but I think De Ligt is a really good player, very tall as well, which is very beneficial. And I do believe he'd be greatly leader in our backline alongside Victor Lindelof. But now with Manchester United coming up with this improved bid, could this convince him to make the move to Old Trafford? Because reflecting back a couple of weeks ago, we'd offered him a contract worth around £12 million a year. Reportedly, De Ligt had currently turned this down. So yeah, I'd love De Ligt Manchester United. I think he'd be absolutely fantastic because I think he'd be a great leader in our back line. Still got a hell of a lot of development in him, and I do believe he'd succeed in the Premier League, with De Ligt. And yeah, so Manchester United, could now be amongst the favourites, to currently get the pursuit of the player, even though initially Barcelona were the current favourites. So now, talking about Harry Maguire, now reportedly if Manchester City do want to get a deal over the line for Harry Maguire, they've got to break the world transfer record if they want to get a deal over the line for Harry Maguire. Now reportedly Leicester have named their price tag, and they reportedly want around £98 million for Harry Maguire. Whether City are willing to pay up to £90 million for him or not, I do not know. They have got the financial resources, to currently meet that price tag. But for me, I don't think Harry Maguire is worth £90 million. I don't think he's worth £80 million. I don't think he's worth £70 million. I do really like him, but you can't put him on the same calibre or level to the likes of the Koulibalis or the Rafael Varans and all that, can you? Or the Diego Gordon and stuff like that. But he's still a very, very good defender, is Harry Maguire. But maybe City will, break the world transfer record to get a deal over the line for him. Well, Harry Maguire was previously valued at around 70 or 80 million pounds. And obviously my club Manchester United, were heavily linked with Harry Maguire last summer. But obviously, last summer we didn't get his number one priority signings because obviously, the board weren't backing the signings that Jose Mourinho, wanted to recommend to come in. And obviously our priority last summer was to recommend a centre-back of course, but we currently failed to materialise that. But Harry Maguire obviously signed a new contract with Leicester last summer, so he's under contract with Leicester until 2023, is Harry Maguire, because he signed this new long-term contract last summer, and he's been at Leicester a couple of seasons. I think he's made just over 100 appearances in the Premier League, but he has done really, really well for Leicester, is Harry Maguire. But I think now he's City's number one target, to currently replace Vincent Kompany. But Harry Maguire, as I said, he's a former Hull City player. He's a former Sheffield United player, where he currently began his career. He's 26. He's still in his prime. He has still got a lot of years ahead of him. But yeah, I really, really like Harry Maguire, and I'd love him, to come to Manchester United. But maybe Harry Maguire wants to go to a competitive elite level football club. Maybe go to a team that can win trophies in that. And obviously Manchester City, would be the more attractive option for him than Manchester United. But whether Harry Maguire leaves Leicester or not, I do not know. Initially, Leicester don't want to lose him. But if City are willing to meet that £90 million price tag, then, he could, leave Leicester, could Harry Maguire. So there's been other defenders on Manchester United's agenda, as you all know. Obviously, Koulibaly, obviously, has been on our agenda, of course. And I really, really like Koulibaly. And I do want Manchester United, to get a deal over the line for him. Whether he do or not, I do not know. Obviously, we'd probably have to break the world transfer record, to get a deal over the line for Koulibaly. But yeah. And talking about Jadon Sancho, I think our move for Jadon Sancho is in serious jeopardy now, for this summer. Maybe in the future we may have a chance of getting Jadon Sancho, but I don't think it's going to happen this summer. Some Manchester United fans are convinced, his move to Manchester United could be back on. Borussia Dortmund confirming the signings of, Julian Braun and Thorgan Hazard. They believe that Jadon Sancho could come to Manchester United, but I don't think the deal's going to happen because obviously, we failed to get in a Champions League football for next season. So I don't believe Jadon Sancho will be coming to Manchester United, even though he was our number one priority target, for a very, very long time. We're willing to meet his £100 million valuation, of course. But obviously, he's intending on spending at least another season with Dortmund. Don't get me wrong, I think it would help him with his developing process better, and it would create a better platform for him if he did make a return to the Premier League, Jadon Sancho. But it's looking likely he will continue applying his trade next season with Borussia Dortmund, Jadon Sancho. Looking at it from a financial point of view, and from a Borussia Dortmund perspective, they'd make a huge profit on the player, because obviously they got him from next to now a couple of seasons ago from Manchester City. I think they paid around £7-8 million for Jadon Sancho, but he's primarily winning. He can score goals, he can provide can Jadon Sancho, and I do really, really like him, but I don't see us getting a deal over the line for him. So there is a lot of players, as you all know, on Manchester United's agenda. There's a lot of players on Manchester United's agenda, so we need a massive overhaul this summer. So like I did say, though, talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, has he got... I don't know if he's got the stature, to command us in that position, where we do currently want to be. But if this bad vein of form continues going on into next season, I will want him out of Manchester United, and I will be currently critical of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But let's be honest, he hasn't really got the experience of a manager anyway, not to the highest level. You know, he had it as a player because he was a great player for 11 years, but he hasn't really got it as a manager, and that's what currently concerns me. You know, based on our bad vein of form, you know, some of the blame is Solskjaer with his team selections and that. You know, majority of it is on the